Criag Sullivan is serving a 43-year sentence for burglary and attempted murder after burglarizing a family home and attacking when surprised by the residents returned. Now he is up for parole. Let's take a look. And if you like this video, please hit like and subscribe. Let's check it out.
You, Mr. Sullivan, tell us their name and what's their relationship to you.
I have my mother, Diane Hunt, my sister, Dietrich Colbert, my cousin, Gerard Thomas, and my other cousin, Miss Mary Bell.
All right, and we also have joining us in support, Mia Lowry with the First 72. Which of your guests there at DCI will speak on your behalf, Mr. Sullivan?
My cousin, Gerard Thomas, and my sister, Dietrich Colbert.
Okay, at the appropriate time, we'll call on them to do that. Also here with us in Baton Rouge, we have some folks in opposition. We have Mr. Mark Kramer, Ms. Audrey Tucker, Diana Lawson, Kevin Lawson, and Olivia LeBlanc. And those who indicated they'd like to speak, we'll call on them at the appropriate time to do so. First, Mr. Sullivan, I'm going to read some identifying information into the record. You've been through this process, so you understand it. We have a little bit different format, and I'll get to that in just a moment. So, Mr. Sullivan, you're classified as a third felony offender. You're currently serving a 43-year sentence. You were sentenced in January. You have an original sentence in February of 1991 for a simple burglary of an inhabited dwelling. You were placed on parole. That was revoked for a new felony conviction for which you were sentenced January of 2000. And that is attempted second-degree murder, aggravated burglary, attempted armed robbery, cruelty to juveniles. Your parole eligibility date was August 1st, 2021, and your good to is August 19, 2025. Is that information correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Sullivan, first we'd like for you this morning to take a moment and tell us what led you to jail, why are you in jail, and why do you believe we should vote favorably for you today?
Mr. Niles and other members of the parole board. Today I come before the parole board a new man, a new person, taking every class that has been made available to me to help correct my negative decision-making and my criminal addictive behavior. I'm a graduate of the STAR program, which is Department of Corrections' highest rated rehabilitation program. I'm a Prime Access Toastmaster. I've also graduated from victim awareness, living in balance, anger management, substance abuse, relapse prevention, nurturing and parenting. And as the parole board can see in my records, I've taken and graduated from several more classes as well. I'm a trustee, I'm a Dawn representative, I'm a mentor to the inmate population. I'm a regular attendee at AANA meetings, have been for several years now. I know the crime that I committed was evil, it was selfish, and there's nothing I can do to change that. But I have worked long and hard and diligently to change the person that committed the crime, and I have accomplished that. Today, I would just like to apologize to Ms. Kramer, Mr. Kramer, their children, for all the pain and suffering that I put them through. And I just want to let Ms. Kramer know that I'm not the same person that did this crime 25 years ago. And today, I'd just like to ask them for their forgiveness.
All right. All right, thank you. We'll go on and hear from the folks who are here in support. First, we'd like to hear from the First 72.
Good morning. My name is Mia Lowy, and I'm from the First 72 Plus. I'd like to thank the board for giving me the opportunity to speak today on behalf of Mr. Criag Sullivan. The First 72 Plus is a reentry organization. We're based in New Orleans. We are dedicated to stopping the cycle of incarceration by providing adequate support to those who are returning home from prison. I received a letter from Mr. Sullivan months back asking for support upon his release. He took the initiative to write to me, and since then we have been in communication. He was interviewed and accepted into our transitional housing program. If he's released, he will be housed with us for 90 days free of charge. During that time, he will work intensively with his case manager, and they will meet at least twice a week working on employment. So things like a resume, applying for jobs, interview skills, as well as opening a bank account, learning how to budget to then afford housing after he finishes his 90 days housed with us. We have additional supports with our organization, such as our life skills class that is 10 days that will help him acclimate to life once released, as well as our 9 Steps to Staying Free class, which is a weekly peer support group. It is led by one of our co-founders, and it creates a space for formerly incarcerated people to talk to each other and give advice about the difficulties that they're facing once they've come back to society, and how to manage their emotions, keep a positive attitude, a lot like the classes that they take while they are inside. Mr. Sullivan specifically named that he knows he needs structure and support beyond his family. He specifically wants to be surrounded by other formerly incarcerated people so they can speak to the experience and know how to support each other. Mr. Sullivan will also have access to our public benefits clinic, so helping him get set up with any benefits and documentation that he may need. In terms of his substance use, Mr. Sullivan named that he was not concerned about relapsing after his release, but he was very happy to complete an assessment with CADA to create a substance use plan. So I've attached that along with a letter of support. So once released, he will be receiving mental health counseling and substance abuse counseling from CADA. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak today, and I appreciate it.
All right, thanks for those remarks. We appreciate it. So we'll hear from the folks at DCI now. We first hear from Dietrich Colbert.
How you doing? My name is Dietrich Colbert. I'm Criag Sullivan's sister. I would just like to start off by saying that I'm very sorry to the Kramer family for the horrific thing that my brother did 25 plus years ago. I'm just asking for forgiveness for my brother, to give him another chance to come home to society, to the family, to get it right at this time. He has a lot of family support that's going to be there for him. Once he gets through with all the programs and everything, if he is allowed to come home, then he'll be residing with me.
All right, thank you. We appreciate it. And Mr. Thomas.
My name is Gerard Thomas. I'm the owner of MRG Construction. I also giving Criag Sullivan a job, but I'm also apologize to the Kramer family for his actions, you know, because he also is a relative of mine also. But I know he's a changed guy. The actions he did was in his 20s. I know you think a lot different when you're in your 40s or 50s. You look at life totally different. Not neglecting what he had already done, but I do believe that he's a changed man from even this conversation. And I also know we have also, I go to Officials of Men Tabernacle. We also have men fellowship, different things that we can help him and support. He got a support system that's there for him, not just spiritually, but financially, wherever he needs to be successful in society, I'm here for him. And other brothers I know that is backing him. And I just want to apologize once again to the Kramer family and all the stuff that, you know, transpired, not, you know, in their lives also. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I do have some, let me read the red cards. We have Mr. Miss Olivia LeBlanc submitted a statement that we haven't record. Kevin Lawson says, Craig, go ahead. You can go ahead. Craig left my wife for dead. He was given a sentence and needs to serve it. My wife will serve a sentence the rest of her life. Thank you. We have some folks who are here. Could we first hear from Mr. Kramer?
Yes, ma'am. I'm via Zoom. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your efforts today. And I am pleased, and I hope that Craig is a changed man, but and I do forgive him, but that doesn't mean that he needs to be released. I just want to recap real quick. You know, he broke into our home and was staging our things by the back door when my family returned. He could have pushed his way past them and run out the back door through the backyard and escaped. But instead, he decided to attack. He threw a glass bud vase, a thick glass bud vase, and it shattered all over the place. He then chased her around the island in the kitchen and broke a cast iron skillet over her head. Do you know how hard you have to hit somebody over the head with a cast iron to break a cast iron skillet? The prosecutors told us they didn't think he intended to kill her. He just didn't care one way or the other. I disagree. I think he intended and was hoping to kill her to get away with his crime. He ran out of the house, then ran back in and asked where the money was. Did I get that right, Craig? As you know, I wasn't there. I was out trying to provide for my family and pay for the items you were trying to steal. As you could tell, I'm not there again today because, again, I am working. Only now I'm working to pay for you, to clothe you, to feed you, to keep a roof over your head. Ladies and gentlemen of the parole board, the other day, my car was parked in a parking garage. Someone was driving too fast around a corner and hit the front end of my car. It removed the front bumper and tore up the front of the car. The gentleman that did it had enough integrity to leave me a note. He took ownership of his failure. He totally took care of all the repairs and made my car whole again. He didn't get to just replace the bumper or the light cowling. He paid to get the whole thing back the way it was before he damaged it. That's how it works. You pay your debt and try to make things right. I'm here to ask you to deny parole and have Criag Sullivan pay his debt. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kramer, for taking the time to speak to us this morning. All right, here we have, I'll let you all here decide who wants to speak first. And just when you get up there, just introduce yourself and tell us your relationship to the victim.
Good morning. I'm Audrey Kramer Temple. When I was 7 years old, my home was invaded and my mother and 2-year-old brother were violently attacked by Mr. Criag Sullivan. On my 5-year-old sister. I lived on. We watched as our mother was hit with multiple objects, dropped our baby brother, and fell to the ground and pulled with her own blood. We were chased, screamed at, demanded to sit down, and asked for money. A piece of our innocence was stolen that day. We knew things about the world and evil that plagues it, that no child should ever. Our home was no longer the safe space we had always known it to be. To be honest, home has never been that way again. None of us can return home even today from even just a neighborhood walk without fearing who might be in our. Mr. Sullivan had plenty of opportunity to run, to leave our home and not lay a hand on any of us or speak to us. He didn't. He chose violence that day. He chose to leave and return times. Thankfully, due to the diligent work of the Baton Rouge Police Department, he was captured that very same afternoon. While Mr. Sullivan's heinous crime has left fears and physical and emotional scars that we will live with for the rest of our lives, a huge part of our healing came from the fact that he was in prison and would be for a very long time, and there was no possibility for that to change. I am now the same age my mother was and have children the same age I was when this act was committed against us. I cannot fathom my children being exposed to such evil. Not imagine what my parents went through knowing their babies were living such trauma while they themselves waded through the same trauma. I wrestled with whether again I wanted to speak today or not. I wasn't sure I wanted to bring up the memories and revisit the events of that day again. It is dreadful to have to continually face our attacker and relive that day and plead our case for why he deserves to serve the sentence he was given. In the end, I decided to again speak because I couldn't live with myself if Mr. Sullivan was released and went on to commit for a 4th time. Mr. Sullivan, I do pray that you are a changed man. I pray that you have found your savior and that you do go on to live a changed life. Ladies and gentlemen of the full board, I'm begging you to keep this man incarcerated. I, my sister and mother, and even our families are serving a life sentence of mental and emotional trauma from the actions of this man who keep getting brought up as he attempts to evade a portion of his consequences. It's unfair. What's not unfair is the sentence that Criag Sullivan was given some 25 years ago. Please give us the decency of forcing him to serve this sentence. Please allow me, my family, and now my children the opportunity for more time with this man being put away. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Diana Lawson. I am the victim of Criag Sullivan's crime. Mr. Sullivan, I want you to know I do forgive you. As I do, and just as my daughter said, I hope and pray that you have found salvation. I hope and pray that you are a changed man. But also want you to know what damage you caused me, my 3 children, and my entire family. Actions have a ripple effect, whether it's a good or a bad thing, it has a ripple effect. It doesn't just affect the person that the crime was attended upon, or the good thing that it was attended upon. If it's not a crime, it affects so many other people, and this has affected so many other people besides just me and my 3 children. So many other people. When you entered my home that day in June of 1999, you changed our lives forever. When you came after me with a glass vase and struck me in the face and then over the head with an iron skillet while I held my 2-year-old son, you changed my life forever. I questioned everything at that point. I questioned God, I questioned safety, I questioned my own existence, because how could such evil come into my home? How could that happen? When my 7 and 5-year-old daughters watched you viciously attack me in our home, you changed their lives forever. You left me for dead, and it is only by the grace of God and some very hardworking law enforcement officers that you were captured that very day. I never had to worry whether or not you would come back after me. My children knew the bad man was taken away and put in jail for a very long time. That was a huge part of our healing. And now this. My children and I have been sentenced to a lifetime of emotional damage. So why shouldn't you serve out your 40-year sentence in your attempt to kill me and my son? You were sentenced fairly and appropriately. You deserve to live out your full sentence. I know people change, and for your sake, I pray you have. I believe in mercy and grace, but I also believe that we are subject to consequences when we have chosen to do the wrong thing. You chose crime that day. You chose to viciously attack me and my son that day. You could have chosen differently, but you didn't. The thought of you being released and perhaps committing this crime on another family or person literally makes me ill. I would never want anyone to go through what my family and I have. To the parole board, I'm asking you to keep Criag Sullivan incarcerated for the term of the sentence. My children are now grown. They have children of their own. I see their innocence. I see their naivety. I see my daughters living their lives like I did, innocently coming home from grocery shopping one afternoon, never realizing the evil waiting for them in their home, like I did. This cannot happen to another family. This cannot be allowed to ruin another home. Please tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Lawson, did you want to speak? Did you want to speak? Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. All right, I see that we have the DA's office that has joined us, Ms. Tracy Barbera, but after we do our interview, Ms. Barbera will call on you to close it out for us. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Warden Turner, before we start our interview, is there anything you can tell us about Mr. Sullivan?
Good morning, Ms. Renata and the board members. Our role in this is to speak on the individual as far as what they've done since they've been incarcerated. All right, and Craig has done some good things since he's been incarcerated. Early on during his incarceration, he had some disciplinary issues, but he seemed to have gotten that worked out. He's a level 2 trustee. He's completed Victims Impact and numerous other programs. He's a Pride member, and he also is one of the dorm representatives, as you know, he said earlier. So since we've had him, he's definitely, like I said, done a lot of good things, and he's definitely putting himself on the right track.
We appreciate your input. So, Mr. Sullivan, your case was assigned to me, so I'll take the lead on the interview. I know that as I reviewed your record, you appeared before a parole panel back in January of 23. And you were denied at that time for, the reasons I noted was you had, of course, victim opposition, you had a poor supervision history, your institutional conduct record was noted, and the need for long-term substance abuse. So can you tell us, since that hearing, which of those issues have you addressed?
Yes, ma'am. Parole board recommended me for long-term substance abuse. As my parole board hearing was over, I was placed into the STAR program, which I stated earlier is the Department of Corrections' most highest rated drug rehabilitation program. It took me over a year to complete this program, but I have successfully completed it. I've also completed substance abuse, relapse prevention, AANA, been going to meetings for several years now. And as parole board can note in my records, I completed several more drug rehabilitation programs as well. As I stated earlier, I just want to apologize to Ms. Kramer and her family. I understand the way that they feel. And I never understood what I did wrong until my mother and my sister's house was broken into and they lost all their stuff too. I never meant to hurt anyone. I'm not that type of person. The crimes I committed were evil and selfish, and there's no excuse I can ever give for that type of behavior that I exhibited that day. But I'm not the person that entered into this place 25 years ago, Ms. Manasseh and the parole board. I've done everything I physically can, humanly can, to change. I don't think the same way. I've learned critical thinking skills now. I understand wellness. I just understand so much now.
Well, that's good to hear. That means you're getting something out of the programs. Were you, so you've been in 25 years?
Yes, ma'am.
And as I mentioned when we got started, you're a third offender. Did you complete the impact program some time ago?
1989, 90.
And so you were paroled after that. Did you, were you successful on that parole?
No, ma'am.
You had a new felony conviction?
Yes, ma'am.
And then you had another period of supervision as well. Did you?
No, ma'am.
So you just been on supervision once?
Twice.
Twice. You completed satisfactorily the second period of supervision?
No, ma'am.
What happened that time?
I committed the simple burglary and discharge here.
Okay. So that was why you were on supervision. So tell us this panel about your history of substance abuse.
Well, I would say that I started smoking marijuana when I would say like 13, 14 years old. Started drinking when I was 17. When I became incarcerated, as you know, I had 40 years. I didn't know how I was going to do 40 years. I couldn't even begin to even much think how I was going to do that. I eventually turned to drugs to try to escape. And became addicted, got a real bad addiction to marijuana and mojo. I eventually broke free from the addiction after a real bad incident with my mother, and I have been drug free for over 4 years now.
What'd you get out of STAR? Isn't that for opiates?
Yes, ma'am.
What'd you program?
The STAR program introduced me to wellness. I never knew nothing about I never knew nothing about environmental wellness, social wellness, financial wellness, overall wellness, period. I didn't know that going back to my old neighborhood or hanging around my old friends were triggers for negativity. This program taught me that. This program also introduced me to core beliefs, showed me how my core beliefs as a young man had a lot to do with my core beliefs as an adult. And I was eventually able to change my core beliefs from negative to positive. This program is also, it's not just a program about addiction. It's a program that teaches you about life, period. I learned how to write a cover story, how to handle myself doing interviews. It just taught me how to be a better person, period, Ms. Renas.
Well, that's good to hear. You do have, you still have very strong opposition to early release. This time also included is the objection by the Attorney General's office. We'll hear from the DA's office in a moment, but there's law enforcement opposition. Well, you do have a lot of letters of support in your record that we reviewed. Over 15 letters of support have come in, so that's a good thing. I'm going to just sit back and listen to what others have to say. Any questions, colleagues? All right, I don't see any questions, so we'd ask Ms. Marbera for the DA's position.
Thank you, Chairman Renata. Again, Tracy Barbera for the District Attorney in the 19th Judicial District. As stated in our written opposition, and as Chairman Renata just discussed, we are very concerned about early release due to this offender's lengthy criminal record, his poor supervision history, and the emotional impact upon the victims is clearly evident this morning. There's nothing more I can say to bring that home. I heard Mr. Sullivan refer to his family members losing some stuff, and these victims lost much more than stuff. I'm looking at his disciplinary record, and I am very concerned about a contraband just a little over 3 years ago, and the intoxications so late into his term of incarceration. I recognize the programs that the Department of Correction offers for substance abuse are very good programs. And I just think Mr. Sullivan needs to have a little more time to show that he has in fact benefited from these programs. We just respectfully request that he not be granted early release today and maybe come back in a few more years. I think the victim's family recognizes that he will not spend the rest of his life in jail, but we would respectfully submit that he needs to prove himself a little longer before he's considered for early release. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. All right, Mr. Sullivan. I think we're ready to vote. I'll be voting first. And that's one thing I did not mention, although the warden mentioned, you do have a loss of 527 days of good time. I will acknowledge that you've had 427 of those days restored. That's good. And the warden indicated that you may have gotten control of that. I did make a note in my record that of the June 2021 contraband, which is concerning. We have a new rule now that you have to be free for 3 years to even be eligible to sit for a hearing, and you barely have met that criteria. But it is concerning to me. My vote today is going to be to deny. I don't think today's your day. You've done well on your interview today. You've said all the right things. And I believe too, I do agree with the district attorney's office that I need a little more sustained period of time to show that you really have learned something from the programs. So my vote today, for those reasons and the opposition that's been expressed here today, is to deny you parole, but I do encourage you to reapply when you're eligible to do so after having sustained a good record. Mr. Tillis.
I commend you for what you've been doing since you've been there. My vote today is to deny because of the opposition type of crime. And I think you need more time served.
Mr. Byron.
And I'm going to concur with my colleagues for the same reasons.
All right, so today, Mr. Sullivan, your parole has been denied today. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you.
Let me know what you think of this 43-year sentence in the comments below, and hit subscribe for new videos every week. Until next time.